Welcome back to another episode of What's New in Beauty. My name is Nia Lee, and I'm super excited to have you guys here. I am very excited to jump into today's episode because we're talking about some really dope topics, and appreciate everybody for always tuning in, always showing love, always coming to the live, or of course watching the podcast. And of course, y'all can let me know what you prefer, if you kind of like seeing me talk my ish over here, or if you just like the audio. I'm always really interested to see where everybody's kind of at. But I'm really excited to get into the topics for today because we're really diving in on some really dope brands that are just really, out here doing dope things. And that's really my MO with What's New in Beauty, is not always necessarily going for what is quote unquote trended, but maybe entering into those areas of beauty that maybe you don't necessarily know about. And then really also want to explore, especially when it comes to really just kind of solidifying yourself in the beauty space, whether you're a brand or whether you're someone who consumes beauty products as well too. I always say, as someone who is pretty much both, like I work with brands who are in the beauty space, and then on top of that, I'm also a consumer of beauty. I'm always like, what are all the brands doing and how can we talk about it? And so without further ado, really excited to jump into the first topic, which is all about LA-based luxury fashion brand FARFETCH. That was actually, they acquired Violet Grey ahead of their actual beauty launch. And this is really exciting for them because they're really looking to get into the beauty space, as I feel like a lot of brands are nowadays, especially because beauty is a billion-dollar industry. Everybody and their mom, from celebrities to Oscar Mayer last week, are really looking to solidify themselves into the wellness beauty space and seeing what they can do. So FARFETCH actually agreed to acquire LA-based beauty retailer Violet Grey for an undisclosed sum amount of ahead of its planned launch into the category later on in this year of 2022. And it was actually founded in 2013 by Cassandra Gray. Violet Grey's beauty platform and storefront that was actually on Melrose Place in LA occurs and really, creates this kind of cult luxury space for individuals who are really looking for, that independent / mega brand luxury retailer, like the Tom Fords, like the Barbara Stern, like the La Mer, Westman Atelier, just to name a few. And they're really kind of essentially doing this in a very editorial kind of way, but combining inspo, education, and product recos. And of course, now on the other side of that, FARFETCH was actually founded in 2007 in 2007 by Jose Neves. And essentially it is the leading global platform for the luxury fashion industry that began as a global e-commerce marketplace for luxury boutiques. And essentially today FARFETCH connects tons and tons of customers in 190 plus countries, with items from more than 50 countries and more than 1,400 of the world's best luxury brands, boutiques, and department stores. So that's my soapbox on Violet Grey as well as FARFETCH. To be quite honest, I wasn't familiar with either brand before I actually started researching this, but the reason why I'm interested is because FARFETCH essentially has solidified themselves in this luxury fashion space, and then you have Violet Grey, who's essentially like, okay, yeah, we're in this space as well too in terms of like beauty. And the brands, if you even kind of look at them, they're very kind of similar in that way as well too. And so it kind of feels like this was eventually something that was always going to happen. And I remember reading in an article where Cassandra Gray actually said, we've been aware of what FARFETCH has been doing for years. We have, looked to them and always said, okay, they're really doing really amazing, dope things. Maybe there's something that we can go ahead and do. And so it's kind of, usually when we hear about companies being acquired by other companies, it's always typically a bad thing. It's always like putting a salty taste in everybody's mouth. But I feel like with FARFETCH acquiring Violet Grey, and still having Violet Grey and still having Cassandra Gray actually on the actual, in the company and in the folds of everything that's going on, it feels like this is actually a really great step in the right direction, considering again how big FARFETCH is and how, they've solidified themselves in the beauty space. And then of course Violet Grey has done in the fashion luxury space, and then Violet Grey has done pretty much the exact same thing in the beauty space. And so essentially, Stephanie Fair, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, she's actually the chief customer officer of FARFETCH, and she essentially said the acquisition of Violet Grey is an important step ahead of the launch of beauty on FARFETCH later this year and will form part of an overall beauty strategy palette. That's what she says. She also continues and says, our aim for beauty on FARFETCH is to provide the world's most expansive, curated edit of the best products to serve customers across ages, races, cultures, genders in an only on FARFETCH way. So they're really kind of leaning into the exclusivity there, which every brand I feel like is trying to do that, right? Especially because FARFETCH has such a look, it has such a feel. Everybody's typically kind of into that. And so they're essentially saying, like, instead of us carving out this lane of beauty, something that we're maybe not fully equipped with, why don't we just acquire a brand that already has the love, the excitement, the connections to brands, the relationships with brands, and why don't we just do something together, which I think is really smart. And they also say we'll be able to show our customers an immersive crossover between fashion and beauty, which, has been a crossover for years and years and years now. I would even chalk it up to decades and centuries, leveraging our innovation capabilities to offer exciting features for our customers. FARFETCH will bring together niche and global brands to transform the beauty retail experience, creating an environment that offers beauty without boundaries. And so within that as well, too, I also was reading that there are some brands who are part of Violet Grey right now that aren't essentially going to be sold on FARFETCH. So it doesn't seem like all the brands who are on Violet Grey are either interested in selling on FARFETCH, or maybe there's just something in the clause that, they just necessarily don't want to actually participate. So Violet Grey will still have the opportunity, to be what it is, but it looks like there's certain brands, for example, like Susan Kaufman, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, Tata Harper, Kosis, Indy Lee actually told Vogue Business that they had no plans to sell on the platform, but declined to specify why. FARFETCH declined to reveal which beauty brands it will stock, and they essentially said it's about a choice, so it will be important for us to stock both established brands and cult favorites. They also say we'll offer a variety, but there will also be an element of curation because we are a luxury destination. And so that kind of gives me the vibe that FARFETCH, again, is looking for those luxury brands. They're looking to have essentially that kind of industry luxury clout that they've been able to build for years and years and years in the fashion space. And now they're kind of wanting that in the beauty space as well, too. And again, Violet Grey essentially has that clout that FARFETCH is looking for. So to me, I think it's a strategic move from FARFETCH's end, because they're also looking for the opportunity to, really get into this beauty space and not start from scratch. I actually went on FARFETCH's page, and if you go on their page, they do have a little bit of a beauty section as well, too, but you can tell it's something that they don't focus on. It's definitely something in the back. I mean, you have to go through like the women's section and find all the beauty products. So, I understand now where they're like, we want to step out of that. We want to make it culture. We want to make it, not as gender specific. Now we want to get into really solidifying ourselves in this space so that we can be a major player, because beauty is an industry that is booming. If you guys aren't aware, fashion is changing. I mean, fashion has changed for, quite such a long time, but with the, conversations of even just the pandemic and, digital and NFT and customers now, kind of saying to themselves, like, I'm not going to go into a store and buy clothes. So what else am I necessarily going to buy? They kind of have to think outside the box. And I feel like this is FARFETCH essentially thinking outside the box, and really wanting to say, we want to solidify ourselves in this beauty space, but we don't want to start from scratch. And we know Violet Grey has the clout, has the relationships, has, the creativity and that innovation that we're looking for, and let's just acquire them and make it be a partnership. And so I'm all the way here for it. Personally, for me, I'm probably not going to shop on the platform, because I'm not really one of those people that says like every single product I own needs to be luxury. But at the same time, I think it's going to be a really dope space. Essentially, if you were shopping on Violet Grey before, now you can actually shop and actually get into the world of FARFETCH even more. And who knows, with this acquisition, this could actually maybe open up more opportunities for Violet Grey to do more and amazing things that they're currently doing in, of course, collaboration, or now, I wouldn't even really say it's a collaboration because they own them, they own the company, but I think there's still more amazing things that they can do together. And so I'm all the way here for it. I think it's dope. And I think it's also smart for a brand who has solidified themselves in one area to now think to themselves, okay, how can we innovate? How can we do something different? And then go into another area of business and say, okay, who can we, tap? Who can we now add into our arsenal and make sure that, we are getting the best of the best people on our team, the best of the best brands in our, essentially, like, I want to call it like an Avengers ring, the I don't know what they're called, Infinity Stones. I was trying to say Avengers ring, but I'm trying to say the Infinity Stones. I feel like a lot of these brands are like just collecting all these really dope, cool indie brands so that they can essentially diversify their portfolio and show, everybody that they're willing to actually diversify and they're actually willing to, look outside the things that they've been doing for years and years and years and see that there's so much innovation in the fashion space. There's so much innovation in the beauty space. So why not tap into it? So without further ado, very excited, and congrats to FARFETCH, Violet Grey. Y'all are probably never going to see this, but I'm always about the congrats because it's the least I can do. Next up on our topics here is all about Sephora. And I feel like I talk about Sephora quite often, and it's because they're consistently always trying to find ways to innovate what it is that they're currently doing. And this next topic of what they're trying to do, like, this is probably like the most innovative thing. I mean, there's 2022 just started, but I'm very excited to see where this goes, and I'm very excited to see how Sephora is I wouldn't say they're making a transition, but they're definitely doing things differently. And I've been saying that for quite some time now, but this is all about Sephora jumping into the intimate care category with 2 startup brands. So yes, it's official. Sephora is giving the sexual wellness category its seal of approval by partnering with 2 stigma-busting startup brands, Mod and Dame, on its e-commerce site on February 1st. So starting tomorrow, y'all can buy all things sexual wellness, intimate care on Sephora's website. I believe you can shop online and, of course, in store. Well, I actually don't know about in store as of yet, but I'm sure you can actually probably go and shop online. And essentially, starting on Tuesday, tomorrow, you can shop some of Dame's customer favorite offerings under the intimate care category, which will live under the bath and body category on Sephora.com. So check it out. I think it's going to be really dope. The products that they have will include vibrators, massage candles, bath products, and lubricants. And essentially, their approach is different from other retailers in the sexual wellness space, as it's starting with only 2 brands, but selling almost every product they make, totaling about 30 products. And so they essentially, test out new brands, new products online before they act. So here we go. They actually test out online before they move physical. So I'd be very interested to see how the display looks physically. I know it'll probably look stunning and beautiful, but this is actually a really smart move for them wanting to do it online. And these 2 brands as well, I'll go a little bit deeper into them, but they are not new to the game whatsoever in the terms of like being the cool, modern sexual wellness company, that, yeah, we sell vibrators, but we're also trying to teach you how to like better your pH or how to take care of yourself, or like, understanding that like sexual health is just health. You know what I mean? Like, they're really tapping into that more so than anything. And I'm actually shocked that Sephora is doing this, because Sephora has always been this like gold standard. If you're in Sephora, it's like, it's like you're in like the holy place. You're in like the motherland almost when it comes to beauty. And so to see them enter into this, sexual wellness space, or just wellness as a whole, you know what I mean? It really is dope to see, because not a lot of major retailers have done this. I feel like Sephora might be the first major retailer to say, hey, we're going to create a category for this. And we're also going to bring in these 2 startup brands that are killing it. And we want to kind of be on the right side of history. And we also want to be innovative, because people are kind of, looking at Sephora, they'll make comments, certain things here and there, or, they'll say to themselves, what's something new and exciting that Sephora is going to do? And I will say, over the pandemic, they have tried to innovate and they have done a really good, successful job. But I think this is going to put them in a whole, like, this is literally putting them in a whole different lane compared to these big, huge retailers like the Ultas, like the Target, and so on. And so essentially, Maud and Dame are working closely with Sephora marketing and e-commerce teams to provide the expansion at launch. Maud has tapped the retailer's influencer group, Sephora Squad, and will host Instagram Lives, cross-posting content across its social media accounts. And even though advertising is actually still a consistent issue for sexual wellness brands, I don't know if you guys had seen, but I actually learned about Dame the first time when they were randomly on like my feed, or actually maybe saw an article that was written about them, and they like back in 2019, they actually sued the New York subway company. I guess it's a company organization. They sued the New York subway for censorship because they wanted to put their ads in the actual billboard subway area, and they were essentially shut down. And they actually won that lawsuit in 2021. And I remember they were on Seth Meyers, they got, press everywhere. It was crazy. And so that really put them on the map specifically as a sexual wellness brand, not to mention their sales are doing absolutely crazy, right? Dame itself actually grew its sales 100% between 2020 and 2021. Maud sales are 75% direct to consumer. So essentially you can go on their site and buy their products. But both companies actually do sell in retailers. So Nordstrom, Free People, Bloomingdale's, Revolve, and so on. And so these definitely are brands that are not new to the game whatsoever. They still have that startup feel, you know what I mean? They're still kind of being scrappy, and they're still really looking to solidify themselves in the, the sexual wellness space. But to me, Sephora making the decision to say, hey, this is where we want to go is genius, and it's smart, and it's innovative, and it's different. And it also proves, you know what I mean? Like, I have no doubt in my mind when these brands come to Sephora, they're going to do very, very well, because they're doing well outside of Sephora. So just imagine what would happen when they get into Sephora, because we all know when things get to Sephora, they get a whole rollout new at Sephora. Everybody makes this huge, grandiose idea about it. And not to mention, they're also going to be tapping into their communities as well too. Like, check out the brands. Like, honestly, what they're doing is different and exciting. And it also is this very cool modern vibe. So you're not going there and you're not feeling weird. Like, everybody there is like understands the assignment. It's about wellness. It's about taking care of yourself. And they're also adding in that education piece, which I love as well too. And so essentially the actual co-founder of Dame, she said seeing pleasure products alongside concealer, face wash, lipstick actually normalizes sexual wellness, which I completely 1000% agree. And it also says for Maud and Dame, the association with Sephora positions them as breakout category leaders capable of merging sexual wellness and beauty, tapping into the $415 billion beauty industry. Y'all, Sephora knows what they're doing. That's all I really have to say. They know exactly what it is that they're doing. And to me, like I said, it shows that they are willing to make the extra leap. They are willing to take the risk. And to me, they're also not going to make a risk that's going to put them, have people, look to them a certain way or whatever. Like, these companies exist and people love them because they're true and authentic and they're needed in this space. And I think we're kind of tired of brands, kind of acting like this isn't part of life. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when, menstrual care brands, they were slowly but surely creeping up, and now like everybody and their mom is like selling menstrual cups and pads and tampons and CBD infused, that like everything is like, adding your own cool twist on it. And it's just really cool to see how these are the normal brands. Like, we want to see these brands in huge retailers because, long gone are the days of us having to feel like we have to go to the drugstore or we've got to go, to a Walmart to get pads and tampons and all that kind of stuff, or like whatever it is that we need. I think Sephora making the decision to do this. And they're also not just going to in this wellness space, you know what I mean? They also have plans about launching into different areas as well too. They're not just going to stay in this. They actually said that they want to make sure that they have in, like I said, different brands, feminine hygiene, hormonal care, like all that type of stuff. They're really like looking to tap into this. So I'm really excited as somebody who, I'm not going to go that deep. I was going to try to find a parallel, but y'all don't need to know my business. What I will say is, though, I'm excited. I think it's smart. I'm excited to see what the rollout's going to be as of tomorrow when everybody can shop. And if y'all end up shopping it as well, too, let your girl know. Because like I said, these two brands are killing it. And I think it was a phenomenally smart and strategic and innovative move on Sephora's part to be able to get into this space with these two dope startup brands. So without further ado, we're going on to our last topic, and I'm talking about Ulta again. You guys know I love talking about Ulta because they're just always killing the game. But they've actually introduced shoppable Snapchat AR lenses, which, if you guys know, AR lenses are essentially what you see with this eyeliner on. If you're watching the live right now, you can see I got a little bit of a green orangish eyeliner going on. This is a filter, y'all. I know a lot of you guys think sometimes I'm wearing like glasses or I'm wearing makeup or whatever. It's always a filter because I love filters and I think they're fun. I think they're exciting. And this is essentially Ulta saying, hey, this is what we want to do on our platform, encompassed with Snapchat. So essentially, but shopping. So here's the tea. Ulta has become one of the first beauty companies to launch a new version of the platform's shoppable AR lenses. The AR filter allows you to swipe through virtual makeup looks with different products and brands linked directly to a company's product catalog. And so with this new feature, brands can actually upload their product catalog to Snapchat to enable AR try-on with links to purchase, which allows brands to actually access real-time analytics on how people are interacting with their products. So as a brand, super duper smart. I think this is really, really dope because this is how people are interacting. Like, this is how people are trying on things. I can't tell you how many times we've talked about this on What's New in Beauty, where I'm always so interested in brands who are merging tech with beauty, because it seems to me that it's just where things are going. And so I'm always kind of, unsure sometimes when I see brands who really do need an AR filter or a virtual try on and don't have that capability, because you can integrate that in whatever it is that you're currently doing. So I love that Ulta is doing this. Like I said, I also think it's super strategic for them to also make sure that this is very brand specific as well too. And actually some of the brands who are actually going to be included in this, so it's essentially called the Ulta Beauty Lens, and it's exclusively focused on mascara for now, but they've got different versions for Maybelline, Too Faced, Benefit Cosmetics, L'Oreal, and Tarte. But Snapchat is not, new to this kind of, AR filter, AR functionality world. They essentially partnered with Perfect Core quite some time ago, and brands like MAC, Too Faced, Bobbi Brown, and Smashbox were actually some of the early adopters of this whole AR lens and so on. Again, Perfect Core is a brand. If you haven't checked them out, they are essentially like the leaders in all thing AR filters and like virtual experience for beauty brands. I was actually supposed to go to a couple events with them, because they always like host events, but you can go on their website. You can go to these events at any point in time because they're always talking about this world of beauty and AR filters and virtual capabilities and so on and so forth. So like I said, those brands were the early adopters, and brands such as Kaja Beauty and actually NYX Cosmetics were actually some of the ones who tried out these AR lenses in the actual holiday season as well too. But again, Snapchat is not the only brand that's getting into this, right? Like brands like Google, they had their AR makeup try-on haul with Google Shopping, Pinterest, their shoppable eyeshadow. I actually spoke about that on an episode of What's New in Beauty too. Again, brands like NYX, Urban Decay, Maybelline, Lancome became the first L'Oreal brands to introduce AR try-on on their Instagram shops. And essentially, the data shows that brands who introduce AR try-on to their Instagram shops, or any brand essentially that's doing this, Snapchat actually, decided and said, I want to say that's decided. According to Snapchat's, I just got to circle back, y'all. According to Snapchat's data, users engage with its AR features more than 6 billion times a day, stating that 93% of its users are interested in using AR shopping. So, without further ado, as we know, most of these businesses run on data, right? Most of these businesses, they are not interested in things, they're not always interested in like, they want to say that. They want to say that they're interested in this like user experience and so on. But a lot of the times they just want to know, what does the data say? Like, what does the data say so that we can go ahead and create something for people that they actually need? So I'm assuming through this, Snapchat decided to probably put out a survey. When you go on Instagram sometimes and like they'll let you say, oh, you want to take part in this like 5-minute survey thing, and they get all your answers and whatnot, and they put together for this so that they can go and create other things. That's essentially what I'm assuming that Snapchat went ahead and did. They started surveying people and so on. They probably all have the data to see as well too who is using filters for which, certain thing. And then on top of that, you get the other aspect of that saying, well, why don't we create something where the brands are included as well too? They know that if people want to try on their blush, their eyeshadows, their actual mascaras, maybe a foundation color, there's an opportunity there for them to go ahead and do that. So I think it's really strategic for Ulta to go ahead and do this, considering how many brands are on Ulta's website. We spoke about this on last week's episode. Fenty might be moving to Ulta. So there's so many interesting things here, and I can totally see Fenty having some sort of a try-on situation as well too with so many of their products, right? Ulta, I feel like, is now kind of, becoming this like holy grail mecca, right? This holy, what Sephora is, and I feel like will always be, but Ulta's getting up there, you know what I mean? And you guys know I love talking about Ulta because they, again, are another company, another huge company that is consistently trying to find ways to innovate themselves, and it never ever feels like pandering as well too. But to me, I love that they're going to go ahead and ramp this up. I love the fact that they are now introducing mascaras and giving you the opportunity to see what that looks like. And then, of course, if you want to easily check out, you can check out. Like, to me, very simple. To me, they are choosing to simplify this world of beauty and shopping. So you don't got to leave your house. You don't got to worry about what a shade or a mascara is going to look like because the filter's right on your eyes. You know what I mean? Like, I remember trying out specifically, a brand, I believe it was maybe even like the Lip Bar or maybe even Cheekbone Beauty, when I would try on their lip products and see what the lipstick looked like before I actually went ahead and checked out. And this was just on Instagram, mind you. So imagine the ease of me trying on lipstick, right? Or you trying on lipstick, and then all of a sudden loving that color, seeing that add to cart, using your points or whatever you do, because I'm in Canada, y'all, so I know Ulta's got a little point system, but I don't know the inner workings of it. And imagine just it being that simple. Like, to me, Ulta's like, why don't we just make it very simple and very streamlined for anybody that is interested in shopping? Like, why let them try on a filter and have to go back, add it to the cart, all that? We can just do that in one section. Like, this is the innovation that I love. This is why I am jealous of y'all in the States that have Ulta, because Ulta is out here killing it and really doing some dope, innovative stuff. And again, this is right on par with so many brands, looking to create virtual experiences, right? And this is how you do it. You do it with a really simple, straightforward AR filter within an app like Snapchat that tons of people already are, into. And not to say that Ulta couldn't go ahead and build something like this on their website, right? Because I'm sure they could. But to me, they're partnering with Snapchat probably to see if it's like something that people actually care about, and maybe you're going to bring on their actual website. I don't know. That's just an inference. That's just a thought that I had. But let me know what y'all are thinking about this topic, about all the topics that we actually spoke about. I'm really excited to see these brands continue to kill it and continue to innovate. As you guys know, what's new in beauty for me is a passion. I love talking about beauty. I love talking about marketing, social media, the rollouts, the whole nine. As we're kind of coming up to a close, I actually just wanted to, this wasn't on my list of topics, but I remember seeing a couple people talk about it, and then I actually remember seeing an article, and then I forgot that I kind of wanted to talk about it, but I had other topics that I thought were pretty dope, and I think these topics were pretty dope. All about BH Cosmetics filing for bankruptcy. Like, crazy stuff. If you guys didn't know, recently BH Cosmetics filed for bankruptcy, and the whole kind of conversation at hand was BH Cosmetics essentially not being able to be a thing or have people be excited for their brand amidst the celebrity partnerships. Like I spoke about BH Cosmetics and Doja Cat collaborating like literally almost like 3 or 4 months ago. And to find out that they're filing for bankruptcy, just, you know what I mean? Like absolutely crazy to me. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, BH Cosmetics has always been, if you're in the beauty space, holla at you, girl, because we know what BH Cosmetics is. BH Cosmetics was holding us down when we couldn't spend the money at the Sephoras for whatever reason. BH Cosmetics was always that affordable beauty brand that if you wanted to even just try to get into beauty, you could get into beauty with BH Cosmetics. Eyeshadows weren't horrible. Complexion products weren't bad. Brush, I think I even have a BH Cosmetics brush set, and I definitely have a BH Cosmetics blush set that I actually purchased as well like years ago. I don't wear blush like that anymore, so, I'm not really picking it up. But to me, a brand who, it's so sad because to think a brand, that just collaborated with Doja Cat, right? And Doja Cat is like one of the biggest stars on the planet. And to know that they had to file for bankruptcy and they also partnered with Iggy Azalea as well too. Like clearly the celebrity affiliations wasn't holding it together. And I will say this, I feel like the conversation of the celebrity beauty brand, the celebrity collaborations, like I don't know about y'all, but like I don't think people care about them as much as they used to. Like it feels to me that the real quote unquote celebs or collabs that people really care about are typically with influencers now. And everybody loves Doja, the girls love Iggy, but I don't feel like that's enough to really, sustain, you know what I mean? Like, especially now with so many celebrities starting their own beauty brands, like the collab thing is just kind of like, everybody's kind of saying to themselves, why don't you just start your brand on your own? Why doesn't Doja just start her beauty brand? Because she has the clout. She has, she is into makeup. People know her for that. So to collab with BH, I don't know how the sales were, to be quite honest, but at the end of the day, the part that sucks, and that I'm also reading here in WWD, was that BH said it faced increased competition in the beauty category and that attempts to maintain market share eroded profitability, which essentially is them saying like we couldn't keep up. We couldn't keep up with the competition. We couldn't keep up with all the brands that were coming up and gaining all this type of notoriety. And like I said, BH has been around for a long time, holding the girls down. All these YouTubers, all these gurus that we all love, they had a hand in BH Cosmetics. I remember when BH Cosmetics was like sending people PR packages, right? Or like those were the first kind of brand deals that people were getting, before, the bigger brands really started to get into it. And so it says here that COVID-19 pandemic had major consequences for BH as well too. Their sales dropped from 55.8 million in 2019 to 33.6 million in 2020. Again, they focused on these really, big celebrity collaborations. But the launch of those lines, they're actually saying fell below expectations. And I will say this as well too. When I was talking about the BH and Doja Cat collab, it felt very lackluster. And I think I actually mentioned this as well too, that I didn't really see much promo happening outside of like the promotional photos that, most people have got to take because, we got to take the promotional photos for the website. But I wasn't seeing a lot of hype. I wasn't seeing Doja really get into her bag. Mind you, just coming off the album release. But to me, BH, they couldn't keep up. And I've mentioned this in numerous amounts of episodes as well too. There are so many brands launching every single day. And if you're a brand that has been around for a really, 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 really long time and you do not have the will or the ability to innovate and do things differently than you once were, you're going to fall flat, right? I think now more than ever, makeup is still a really big thing. Everybody loves eyeshadow. Everyone loves, I won't say everyone loves eyeshadow, but people still love makeup, right? The way people approach makeup now is so different. Like, again, I love beauty. So I'm consistently reading about beauty trends. The beauty trend that every single editor, reporter, blog talks about is skin minimalism, i.e., not a lot of product, right? Or just making sure that your skin's good, right? So that you don't have to use a lot of product. And so with a company like VH Cosmetics, where they're coming from an era of beauty where people used to use 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 eyeshadows for one look, or people were looking for full coverage. People aren't looking for that anymore. And I think there's so many, like I said, brands that have come up now who maybe started in skincare that are getting into, makeup and doing it in a very infused kind of way, or again, makeup brands that are now venturing into skincare. And I feel like if BH had made the pivot earlier, I feel like there could have been something there. You know what I mean? Like if they had made the pivot, make it more obvious, rebrand, maybe, I feel like maybe something could have been different. But, sales don't lie. Those $1 million price tags don't lie. And, it's sad to see BH Cosmetics go, but who knows? I don't know exactly what the next steps are for the company, but I am sad to see them go. And, I'll definitely keep y'all updated if I hear anything. But if you don't innovate, if you don't pivot, you're going to get left. Like that's really like, I'm talking to anybody who is a brand owner right now, who's listening to this and saying to themselves, well, damn, BH Cosmetics been around forever, but they're going to have to pack it up eventually if they're not going to be able to pivot or follow what is going on in the beauty space. And it's not to copy, it's just to pivot, go in a different direction, innovate, do things a little bit differently. Nobody really cares about celebrity collabs anymore. Really not like that. You know what I mean? And so even if you are attaching it to a really popular celebrity, not everybody and their mom is necessarily going to care, because people are invested in influencers. People are invested in maybe the people that they're following. Celebrities don't have that same clout that they once had, because now everybody's a celebrity. Everybody can jump on Instagram Live. Everybody, including myself, everybody can jump on TikTok and do the same thing. And so all that to say, this has been such a fruitful episode. I appreciate y'all so much for catching me on another episode of What's New in Beauty. And I cannot wait to catch y'all for another episode next week.